Now, wait a minute. Are you ready? Everybody's ready? You know it's coming, right? You make me wanna kick my heels up and hey, hey. Yes, well done, well done. Very nice. Now, for some of you, I may have just tapped into an emotional experience based on a lifetime of memories. For some of you, you may have found yourself tapping your feet, or I saw your shoulders were bopping, your heads were going along. Certainly you were singing with me. Maybe you experienced a bolt of energy. Maybe you even feel a little bit more connected to the person that is sitting to the left or the right of you, or even with me. If I had sung something more calm or soothing or relaxing, your experience would have been very different. Music is powerful. Music is evocative. And for some people, it's even transformative. Now, when we think about music and we look at the research behind music and therapy and music and emotional connection, we're able to go to the neurosciences because we have this fabulous research. There's more every day being published in neuroscience. We have neuroimaging, we have biomarkers, we have behavioral medicine that we can look to understand what's going on. One of the things that we know for sure is that there is no music center in the brain. We have a speech center, we have a couple movement centers, motion centers, we have a language center, but there's no center for music. It is essentially everywhere. We see activation patterns trigger throughout the brain when music is introduced. It's fascinating. When one part of the brain is either underdeveloped or damaged, we can use that connection of music, like railway stations through the neural network of the brain, to help rehabilitate or habilitate what's going on for that person. Another thing that we know is that when we make music together, or we experience music together, we get a sense of belonging. It's interesting. I always notice that adolescents tend to group in areas based on their musical interests. Have you ever noticed that? You know, we've got all the metalheads together, and we've all got all the hip-hop kids together, and we've got everybody that loves the same music. You bond with people through your music in adolescence. That's another bit of research that we've found. So when we think about that and we think about the brain, it's interesting to know that when musicians go into an experience of flow or are playing together and the music is just so good and it's so easy and it just feels seamless, oxytocin is being produced in the brain at those moments. And just to remind you, oxytocin is the thing that a mother and a baby experience. It's the love hormone, okay? It's also really fascinating to me that when people are listening to music that they love, and not just musicians, but non-musicians also, when we listen to music we love, we produce dopamine. We need dopamine for learning. We need it to be able to get our bodies moving. We need it for pleasure. Music is like an internal pharmacy that we can tap into and make change happen. Now, NPR has recently done a series of programming that they called Signature Songs. And they invited people to write in and talk about the music that was important to them year after year after year. You know, what song was it that they listened to or sang in the shower every single morning? What's their signature song? And one of the things that we found in looking at the responses of people is that these songs became markers for moments in the lives of the people who were writing in and sharing their stories. That the music or that signature song became like a friend whose hand they could hold through difficult moments. That became the song that made it easier to get through that hard time. Let me tell you a story. You can picture it. Winter, 1987. Madonna, Duran Duran, big hair, right? I was standing in the pool room, in the natatorium, in the pool area of the high school where I went to school. And I was volunteering to swim with some of the children in the special needs classrooms from my district. It was loud, people were laughing, they were splashing around, they were jumping in and out of the pool, having a great time. The students that were my peers were really experiencing a lot of great moments with these kids from the special needs classrooms. I noticed several times, after a couple of weeks, there was this one little boy. He was maybe 7 years old. He was primarily nonverbal. He was very sensitive. And he was never having a good time. He did not like being there. He would squirm. He would fuss. The teachers had to always be in the water with him because he was a tough one to be able to work with. Well, after a couple of weeks of watching this and noticing what his behavior was, I decided to kind of volunteer to work with this little boy. And I got into the water, and I put my arms around his elbows, put his head back on my shoulder so he was facing the ceiling. And I began to swim backwards with him, and he was not happy with this. He was like, oh, and he was kicking, and he was fussing, and he was upset. And instinctively, what I did is I just leaned in, and I began to sing. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. What did he do? His rigid, tense little body went, and he relaxed. And I thought, what just happened? Right? I was amazed. He was able to tolerate going back and forth in the lane, in that loud place, in that cold place, in that uncomfortable place. But he did it. We did it together. So I ask you, what is your signature song? What's your song that you listen to, that you can turn to when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling unsafe, when you feel like you need help? What's your song? We don't always have another person there with us, but we have these memories of these songs that are important to us that we can tap into whenever we need them. So, not only was this boy transformed in the moment of sharing the music with me, but I was transformed too, because it was just a couple weeks later that I heard about this field called music therapy, and I was like, oh, that's it, eureka, I found what I'm going to do with my life, right? I think I'm the only person that I knew in college that started and ended in the same major. Really. So I became a board-certified music therapist, and I was working at an inpatient behavioral health hospital. I was writing songs. I had a little band. I was performing in the evenings in cafes and we were opening up for more established bands in the area. It was a time of self-exploration and real beauty, exploring of beauty. And when I was at work doing music therapy, the inpatient unit was the kind of place where you walk forward and the door locks behind you, right? My friends from that time in my life are snickering over here. They know what it's about, yeah. Many of the patients that we served there were either a danger to self or a danger to others. Most of them didn't want to be there, right? It was a difficult time for those folks. One of the things that I noticed that was really interesting is that when I would provide a music therapy session on the unit, I still got people coming to group, right? People would share with each other about their stories, about their struggles, within the context of the music, within the poetry of the writer's music, to be able to write their own music. I remember having some people sort of leaning forward and looking at the floor, and when, after an hour of group drumming, they would be lifted up and they would be looking at each other, making eye contact for the first time that day. And they were ready, more ready for their treatment. The music was a powerful force in that place. Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh, child, things will get brighter. The music was working. It transformed their experience. Fast forward a bit further. I've been doing music therapy, working as a music therapist, and now I'm working as a medical and hospice music therapist. I was on the unit in the medical hospital, and a nurse asked me to go and see this patient down the hall. So I'm walking down the hall, and I have my guitar in hand, and I knock on the door, and I slide inside the room, and I can feel the tension, and I can feel the sadness. And I look at the person who I'm here to see, and she's in her hospital bed, and she says, "What do you want?" I'm like, okay, this is gonna be fun, right? And I explained to her I was a music therapist, and I was here to, spend a little bit of time with her and her family. She had a couple of adult children that were there and a husband that was at her side. And I talked to them for a little bit, and she said, you know any Barbra Streisand? And if you know Barbra Streisand, that is a tall order, right? That is not easy stuff. So I said, yeah, I know a little bit. And she said, you know Evergreen? And I said, yeah, I do. And I knew that song because it was my mother's favorite song when I was growing up. So I heard it. My very young brain, I took it in. Well, I pulled out my iPad and I pulled up the music. I'm not genius. I don't know every song that was ever written. So I pulled up the music and I started to play on my guitar and sing. And I looked up and she was stepping out of her bed. She grabbed onto her IV pole. Her husband stood up and sort of steadied her. And they swayed back and forth for the whole song. And then she sat down and she looked at me and she said, "It's our anniversary and we didn't want to be here. That's our song." The music saved the day. The music transformed their experience in that environment. The music was just what they needed. So, I'd like to ask you, beyond the time that you are studying or working out or even dancing at a wedding with your sweetheart, I want you to think about how you can embrace music on your everyday experience. How can you use music to make your life more connected, more grounded, more emotionally buoyant and ready for whatever the challenge of the day is going to be? You have signature songs. We all have songs that we love. You need to listen and be with those songs. Maybe it's time to make a playlist, okay? A playlist for the morning to get up and go and make it a great day. Maybe it's a playlist for when you're driving home and you're going to be going to job number 2, which is mom or dad, right? We need to pump ourselves up. Maybe it's a playlist for sleeping, or even a playlist you might call Victory, and it's the tunes that pump you up and make you experience your most bold, most brilliant, most fantastic self without apology. You've got to get up every morning with a smile on your face and show the world all the love in your heart. Well, people are gonna treat you better. You're gonna find, yes, you will, that you're beautiful as you feel. Well, my music is alive and well. I got some friends together and we created a rock band. Yeah, that's right. I'm learning how to play electric guitar at my age. Super fun. I sing it loud, and I sing it proud. And I am so delighted to be able to experience the transformation of music in my life over and over again. And I've seen the transformational power of music in my patients and in my clients. I think it can work for you, too. Thank you so much.